Clax is an archaeologist, as were the other 100 or so individuals around them. They were all here for one reason: the largest and most intact precursor ruin ever found by the numerous spacefaring species of the galaxy. The precursors, or as they call themselves, the humans, had left evidence of their presence in every corner of the galaxy, on moons, planets, asteroids, and comets. The evidence was all around, but nobody had found one, or where they came from, and any installations that still had power were watched over and protected by their robot stewards. They would prevent any intrusion or connection with lethal force if they had to. Clax couldn't be more excited. This site was in pristine condition, and the stewards hadn't stopped anyone from getting close. In fact, they had invited them in. It was a bit unnerving, but as an archaeologist, this was too good of an opportunity to pass up. Every species had somebody here, no matter how reclusive or disagreeable they were. This discovery was for the galaxy, and everyone knew it. Everyone also had cameras taking pictures of anything and everything. The structure itself was very large, but not imposing. It had an almost welcoming brick exterior with 2 sets of double doors at the entrance. The inside had a firm maroon carpet, with a brighter red carpet leading further into the building. Between the excitement of being in the greatest discovery of the millennia, and the newly found grip under his feet, he barely resisted the urge to run ahead of everyone else, although he did assume a brisk walk that outpaced them all by a small margin. At the end of the red carpet, he came to another set of doors. He stopped for a second to ponder if he should go in, but that didn't last long, as everyone else behind him caught up and barged their way past. Clax followed into the large room. It was filled with rows of chairs, all facing towards a large screen taking up the far wall. At one of the side walls there was a small display, with another archaeologist already examining it. Clax approached the panel, an individual, and said with great curiosity, "What does it say?" The other archaeologist glanced over briefly before looking back to the panel. "If I'm translating this correctly, I believe it says, 'Press here to begin the film.'" Clax now saw the button taking up a good third of the screen, before glancing to the translator and then back to the button. He was a little impulsive at times, and being faced with a big button while already high in the previous excitement proved a little too much. He pressed the button. The lights dimmed and the big screen began displaying a countdown. 5. People were looking around confused and a little anxious. 4. A majority of them had noticed the countdown on the screen. 3. Many of them began taking a seat, although a few left the room. 2. The last of the people, Clax included, found a seat and continued watching the screen. 1. The room was as quiet as a tomb. Loud and inspiring music played throughout the room, as the screen changed to show humans aboard massive starships moving through space, and a voice boomed throughout the theatre. 40,000 years ago, humanity took to the stars in search of wealth, freedom, an end to conflict, but above all else, sapient life. The screen changed once again to show the Milky Way galaxy, and a coloured bubble expanding presumably borders. We spread across the stars, growing, learning, thriving. The voice grew quieter and more melancholic, searching, but we found nothing. A word appeared on screen, taking up most of it. Denial. Humanity had entered its first stage of grief. Denial. Stars, planets, asteroids and nebulas passed by on the screen. We thought it was impossible. Space was vast and so large that there should have been near infinite possibilities. There had to be life, larger than basic microbes, somewhere out there, and so humanity continued to spread. The screen switched back to the ever-expanding bubble as it covered the rest of the Milky Way before another word appeared. Bargaining. We reached the edge of our galaxy and still had not found life, and so we entered the second stage of grief. Bargaining. Maybe we hadn't gone far enough. Maybe we just haven't drawn enough attention to ourselves to let others know we're here. Maybe there's something we're missing. The screen switched once again to show the Milky Way, but this time with other galaxies around it, with arrows coming from the Milky Way and pointing to them. We reached out and spread to galaxies beyond our own. Another change. Now it showed a galaxy-wide light show with stars that would go supernova but still remain afterward. We tried to get anyone's attention with whatever means we could. The next clip presented a satellite larger than the star it seemed to orbit. We sent messages anywhere, everywhere and beyond. We even went where we could not even have a hope of survival, dimensions that only existed theoretically, and even still are only able to be dipped into temporarily. A video started playing showing a lab with an elaborate machine, with a man standing in the middle of it. A flash of light and he was gone. A few seconds passed in complete silence before there was another flash, and the man reappeared, but with chunks of him missing in such a way that no wound could cause. Members of the crowd gasped, yelped and gagged at the sight. Clax had almost forgotten where he was. He had become so focused on the film. Another man from our screen ran to catch the dying man as he fell, and with his dying breath in his fellow researcher's arms he spoke the word, nothing. The screen went black before displaying another word, anger. Even after all of that, humanity was still alone. And like a man locked in a room with no one and nothing, humanity went insane, and fell in on itself. So began the third stage of grief, anger. The screen now showed massive armadas clashing against one another, planets being scorched of all life and split asunder, soldiers shooting anything that moved, even civilians. Some of the crowd gasped once again, and Class could swear he heard some of them crying. Not like he was any different, as he felt tears slowly drip down his face. The screen went black again, and showed the word depression. Humanity grew tired of war and conflict. We had spread everywhere and found nothing. Every last corner of the universe had been scoured for nothing. And so we entered the fourth stage of grief, depression, and we withered. People with hollow eyes walked through a dilapidated and grey city as the rain came down on them, only a few using umbrellas or caring. Humanity was reaching its end without ever having reached acceptance. We nearly went quietly into that good night, but that just wasn't like us. The screen changed again to a man wearing a lab coat and a suit underneath, standing at a podium in front of a half-collapsed building on a day covered by overcast. He looked weathered and worn out, but stubbornly resilient, with a fire behind his eyes. He began to speak with his voice getting stronger and louder the longer he spoke. This universe is empty. We all know that, and we all wish it wasn't. Humanity has reached its final hours, with some finding fulfillment in their small circles with their fellow man, but many more, far too many, wish for something grander. I stand here today not with resignation towards the state of the universe, but with utmost defiance. If the universe is empty and devoid of life, then we shall make our own life. It will be a long process, I will not lie, but we now have what we need to plant the seed of life on every and any planet we choose. It may take millennia to develop, but we will have the universe that our forefathers dreamed of oh so many years ago. A roar of cheers came from the film. The screen began to show humanity clearing entire planets of their presence, down to the last brick and foundation, as the narrator took over once again, with renewed vigour and determination in their voice. After the longest time, we had hope, and a goal that would keep us going for many years. We cleared any evidence of ourselves off of the planets we seeded, so that what developed there would truly be the natural, uninfluenced development we hoped to see. The screen changed to show automated drones and robots releasing the necessary elements and catalysts for life, as well as building stations around planets and in the void of space. We made stewards to place and watch over our greatest project, so that as many species as possible could naturally develop and add variety to the universe exponentially. Another change showing rows upon rows of filled cryogenic pods. Humanity took itself out of the equation as much as possible in order to let a certain uniqueness develop in the life that would grow throughout space. The screen panned to a man and a woman with black veins. However, a chosen few were selected to watch over the growth of the universe and were granted artificial immortality, while the rest slept until it was time. The screen went black, and the light slowly became brighter in the room. They kept watch for millennia, waiting for that fateful day, today, when the life that was put into the universe and watched over would one day return in its many forms. Congratulations for making it here. A panel in the middle bottom of the screen opened up, and out stepped a man with black veins, tears in his eyes and a smile on his face as he looked at every individual in the room, eyes stopping briefly on each of them. Class could barely contain himself as the human looked at him before they finished surveying the room, and saying with a voice nearly choked with happiness, "It's so good to finally get to meet you all."